Hello indie game fans, welcome back to I Dream of Indie. Ole Gamer Joe here today with another review. We are looking at Banner of the Maid, a strategy game that will be releasing onto Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One as of August 12th, 2020. The game will be priced at $16.99 normally, though there is a pre-purchase discount available right now for $14.44 on the Nintendo Switch version at least. That is where we played the game, and it is developed by Azure Flame and published by CE Asia. Banner of the Maid tells a politically intriguing story, not based on fact of course, taking place during the late 18th century and heading into the 19th century. As the French Revolution begins to sweep the nation, you find yourself playing as Pauline Bonaparte, an unlikely leader of sorts, who feels like she's been living in the shadow of her brother her entire life, so it's time for her to take the reins, step up and be a leader, and lead her troops into a variety of different battles. The storyline will head into quite a few different directions with a lot of different factions and tons of characters for you to meet, but it's always pretty interesting and for the most part well written. There are some translation issues here or there, but for the most part I was entertained throughout. This is a grid-based, turn-based strategy game at its core, the kind that I really enjoy. Definitely reminded me a lot of the early PlayStation-style strategy games, including Final Fantasy Tactics or Vandal Hearts, the ones that I really enjoy playing. As you would expect, you'll have to slowly and methodically move your way around a map, turn by turn, with each character, and strategically place them in order to take out enemies. Like I mentioned, there are a lot of different character types in this game, so your movement will depend on which character you're using. If you have a horse, for example, you'll obviously be able to move quite a bit further than if you're on foot. Once you get close enough to an enemy, you have a few options to choose from. You can attack the enemy from the side, front, or back. Obviously, for strategical reasons, you'll generally want to hit them from the side or behind. This leads to some great battle scenes that have you sending an entire cavalry of soldiers towards your enemies. Of course, they can do the same to you. Of course, generally speaking in strategy games, rushing into battle isn't always the best solution, so you can carefully bait enemies towards you, and you can also use certain character types that can fight from a distance. Further adding to the strategy elements are campfires, which you can light by standing next to, and these will actually heal you should you be huddled around them. Of course, you do eventually get healing characters as well, which can help you out a bit, but I really like this element of the game. It made me rethink my strategy, kind of back off of my enemy, and just slowly think things through. Certain character classes are both strong and weak against other types, so you'll have to be aware of this as well. You can deal more damage depending on the class, or you might take more. And of course, the battle terrain plays a pretty big role in things too. You might find that you have an advantage by hiding in the grass and you'll take less damage, or standing in puddles, for example, can really slow things down and leave you more open to attack. Another really neat feature in Banner of the Maid is your morale meter, which will slowly build up the more damage that you dish out. This will allow you to access some more powerful attacks. Not only will these abilities deal out more damage, but they'll also net you more experience. Occasionally, you'll also find that you have allies helping you in battle, but they aren't necessarily members of your team, so they don't gain experience. That's something to be aware of as well. You'll want to use your lead characters in order to take out enemies so that they can gain experience and not give the experience to allies who don't really do anything with it. But there's even more gameplay to this title outside of the battles. You have reputations that you can build between certain factions, and this will help you to unlock certain items and get different bonuses. These opportunities often come up through the game's dialogue scenes, which there are quite a few of in Banner of the Maid for sure, and making the right selection can lead to you gaining more reputation with certain factions. This did help to make the dialogue and your choices feel a little bit more meaningful. And even outside of just trying to work your way through the main story beats of this game, which will take you numerous hours, there's also quests that pop up along the way. This will allow for you to earn some bonuses, extra experience among some of them. Overall, you have over 30 different settings, tons of different terrains to deal with, lots of weather effects that can mess with battles, and all of these dialogue choices. It all really leads to a very satisfying experience. In terms of graphics, Banner of the Maid really looks great. I love the art aesthetic of this title. The character portraits are big and beautiful, well drawn, and the sprite work in this game is fantastic. All of the battlefields look really nice. I truly felt like they nailed the art aesthetic that they were going for here. It reminded me again a lot of Final Fantasy Tactics, brought me back to those PlayStation years. Really nice looking title. I also found that the composers of this game did an excellent job making some great warlike compositions. There are a lot of beautiful soaring melodies, very light moments as well sprinkled across the cutscenes, but when they sound the war drums in this game, that's when it sounds its best. This game features a ton of magnificently orchestrated pieces that I can't wait to go back and listen to over and over again. Really great job in terms of the soundtrack, and the sound effects are also quite enjoyable. From your characters screaming out in battle to the sound of your gun going off, it all sounds really great and it fits the setting perfectly. Overall, as far as tactical games go, this one looks top-notch and it has a great soundtrack to back it. I can't say I have used the term masterpiece too many times when referring to video games in my life. Those are some very special games. Banner of the Maid flirts with being a masterpiece. Though the translation is not perfect, the difficulty could have used a little bit of tweaking here or there, which, by the way, I should mention there are 3 different difficulty settings at least, so if you just want to enjoy the story, that's an option. But Banner of the Maid does so many other things right that I just couldn't help but fall in love with it. All of the characters are enjoyable and likable, the gameplay is satisfying, it had me pumping my fists on more than one occasion, and I think this is one of the great soundtracks that I've heard in a video game in quite some time. I've spent all this time talking about Banner of the Maid and I didn't even get into the character classes yet. There's a lot to unravel in this game, but strategy fans just can't miss out on this one. It's so much fun, it's so enjoyable to play. If you've really been itching for a classic turn-based strategy game with a lot of heart and a lot of value, Banner of the Maid fits the bill perfectly. I can't recommend this one enough. So will you be checking out Banner of the Maid? Let us know in the comments section below. Did you know that I Dream of Indie also offers memberships now, as well as a brand new merch store? Check it all out in the description box below. However you end up supporting I Dream of Indie in our quest to bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming, we thank you so much for doing so.